Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today for Saturday. Today's June 8th and it's Belmont Day. Belmont at Saratoga. So let's get started. We've got some big stakes racing and always a great stakes card in the undercard of the Belmont Stakes. This year it's at Saratoga. So definitely some changes there. Of course, the change of venue and then some change of some distances from some of these races and some configurations as well. So I've got a pick 5 that I like, starting in the 8th race. The 8th race has an approximate post time of 3:22 Eastern, so that's 2:22 here in the Central Time Zone, and 12:22 out there on the West Coast. So a little earlier than usual for the West Coast folks. All right, so let's get started. The 8th race is the Woody Stevens 7 furlongs. It's a Grade 1 event. Always a nice race on the racing calendar. Some nice horses have won this race in the past, have gone on to do some nice things. Big scratch here in this race. The 8 horse was Vlahos. He's out of the race. This horse would have been a lot of speed, so he's out. Definitely was a scratch, big scratch for me, and who I thought could win. So I've got 4 horses here that I want to get started here. The first is the 1, Bookham Dano. Bookham Dano comes out of a long layoff. We saw him last in the Saudi Derby. This horse was getting beat on the wire by Forever Young, which we saw Forever Young ran a great race in the Kentucky Derby and definitely has a legit excuse and a complaint on why he lost that race. Probably could have won that race. So Bookham Dano gave him all he can handle and ended up running right to the wire with him. Haven't seen him since that race. Has been off a layoff, some nice workouts. Irad Ortiz at Saratoga, never a bad thing. So got the 1, Bookham Dano. I got the 4 horse, who is Valentine Candy. It comes out of the Steve Asmussen barn. Asmussen has won this race in the past. He brings this horse out of those sprint series of races they have at Oaklawn, and this horse pretty much swept all those races, ran some big figures. Has not ran 7 furlongs, didn't run too well, but 7 furlongs should not really be a problem for this horse. Horse is by Justify out of a Candy Ride mare, so 7 furlongs shouldn't be a problem. We're going to see if the Oaklawn sprint races, if they're up to snuff, and if a horse like Valentine Candy, can compete against, a little deeper waters here. So got the 4. We've got the 7, who is Prince of Monaco. Now, Prince of Monaco comes out of the Bob Baffert barn. This horse also comes off a long layoff. We haven't seen this horse since last year's Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, where he ran just kind of an even race at 1 1/16. I don't know if this horse wanted to run 2 turns, but we're not going to have to worry about that because this is a 7 furlong race, which he's running today. This horse has done some of his best work around 1 turn. Broke his maiden first time out, ended up winning the Best Hal in his second race, and then came back and parlayed that into the big win in the Del Mar Futurity, which is a Grade 1. So this horse ran some nice races last year, nice speed figures. As I mentioned, kind of ran an even race in the Breeders' Cup. Something apparently happened because we haven't seen him since. But if you look at this horse's workouts, and I don't subscribe to the workout reports, but I can just eyeball this here and see this horse is really working a hole in the wind, and looks to me like he's probably kicking down the barn doors at the Baffert barn. So I think this horse really wants to go. He's 7-2 in the program. And then I'm also going to put the 9 horse, who is Nash. Nash comes out of the Pat Day Mile, which he came second. He was a favorite that day. He came second to Seize de Grey. We all saw what Seize de Grey did. He ran a big race there in the Pat Day Mile, followed that up with a win in the Preakness. So the Pat Day Mile, to me, looks like it would be a live race. So Nash was a favorite that day. He's now 6-1 today for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. Going to put him in there. So got the 1, 4, 7, 9. All right, now let's move over to the next race, which is the 9th race, is the Jaipur Stakes. Now this year the Jaipur is going to be run at 5.5 furlongs on the grass. Shorter than it would normally go. It would be 6 furlongs if it was at Belmont, but they run 5.5 furlongs on their grass sprints at Saratoga. So I've got 3 horses here that I want to move this pick 5 along with. I've got the 6 horse, who is Star of Mystery. Now, when I originally looked here, I see, wow, Star of Mystery is a 3-year-old filly. So they're putting her in against her elders and running her against boys. That's a tough ask. But then I looked to see this horse, she had spent the winter over at Maidan, and she did that in Maidan. She, faced her elders, faced boys, and she had run well. She won a Grade 2 stakes. She had come second in a Grade 3, and then also in the Grade 1 Alcaz, that's the big race there on World Cup Day. She ended up coming second And those are straight line sprints that they run there, straight down the stretch. They could run 6 furlongs. She ended up getting beat by a horse named California Spangle. Now I didn't know who California Spangle was. I didn't bet that day of racing, but I looked him up and I saw that horse is a hard knocking horse out of Hong Kong who has won a lot of races. Just a tough horse, and she gave him all he can handle. Just getting beat there. Frankie Dettori was on her that day. I see Flavian Pratt takes the call today. Never a bad thing. 3-year-old filly taking on older Charlie Appleby. He knows more about horses and training horses than I do, so I'm going to trust him. So I've got the 6 horse with Star of Mystery, Flavian Pratt. I'm going to put the 8, who is Cogburn. Cogburn last time upset me. I didn't have him in that Churchill Downs turf sprint on Derby Day. He was 8-1 that day. I'm just going to put him in again. He beat some of these horses. I'm going to put him in. I didn't put him in last time, but he beat some of these horses. So, maybe the horse is just that good. I don't want to get knocked out if this horse wins again. So I'm going to put Cogburn in. And then I'm going to put the 12 horse. 12 horse also comes out of the Godolphin stables and trained by Charlie Appleby. This horse has done some globe trotting and in his life, has won all over the world. Has run twice here in this country. Here in the States, ran at Keeneland back in April, came second. As the favorite in the Shakertown, came second to Arzak, who's also in this race. I don't have Arzak. And then followed that up with a third-place finish against Cogburn in the Churchill Downs Turf Sprint. Now, I looked at that race. I see that horse had a lot to do. Had to close and pass a lot of horses and just couldn't do it. They weren't closing that much at Churchill Downs that day on the turf. So this horse had a whole lot to do. I think maybe he'll be improved. I see William Buick takes the call. William Buick, I know, is their first call rider there with Godolphin. So, 8-1, that sounds like a great proposition to me. So I've got the 6, 8, and the 12 in the Grade 1 Jaipur. All right, now let's move over to the 10th race. Now the 10th race is the Met Mile. And the Met Mile is a historic race on the racing calendar every year. We've seen some of the best horses in the world, best horses ever, have won races, have won the Met Mile. Met Mile is a tremendous race. It's a sires maker race. So you win the Met Mile, you have a good chance you become a sire, and some great sires have come out of that as well. So it's a Grade 1. This year at Saratoga, the difference is the configuration. Saratoga has a mile chute that starts at the end of the clubhouse. So they start on that turn, they run kind of straight, and they make a perpendicular, like a 90-degree angle turn, which I don't know that trainers really like that. I don't know if horses like that because it's not something they normally do. But, we'll see. There's only 6 horses in this race, so it makes me wonder maybe some people took a pass at this. I'm going to put 3 horses out of the 6. I don't have a very strong opinion, just trying to get through this in advance. I've got National Treasure, who is the 2 horse for the Bob Baffert barn. This horse, we've seen this horse win some big races. He came second last year in the Breeders' Cup Mile to Cody's Wish. That was a 2-turn mile. Got beat by a nose by Cody's Wish, so that definitely gets my respect. Ended up following that up with a big win in the Pegasus race over at Gulfstream. Ended up beating Senor Buscador. So we saw Senor Buscador run a big race that day, and then he followed that up with a big win in the Saudi Cup. So Senor Buscador is certainly no pushover. National Treasure, beat him. So got National Treasure at 8-5. And I also put the 3 horse, who is Post Time. Post Time has 10 starts, 8 wins, a second and a third. So this horse definitely knows where the winner's circle is. He's done most of his work in Maryland. It's also won at Aqueduct as well, won the Carter. So this horse has run some tough races. And I'm thinking maybe this horse might like this configuration. Certainly a tough customer. I'm going to put him in at 7-2. And then going to put the 6 horse, who's White Barrio. That's the program favorite. White Barrio, had a good year last year. Ended up coming third in the Grade 1 Met Mile last year, which was run at Belmont, came third to Cody's Wish. Followed that up over at Saratoga, ran in the Grade 1 Whitney, which he won a big race there, and so he shows he likes Saratoga. And then ended up in the Breeders' Cup Classic and won that race at Santa Anita. So this horse certainly, tough customer. He's 6-5, going to put him in there. So I've got the 2, the 3, and the 6. So let's move on to the next one, which is the 11th race. That's the Manhattan. Now, the Manhattan here at Saratoga, the distance is reduced to 1 mile and 3/16. It would normally be run at 1 1/4 miles when it was at Belmont Park. This is a Grade 1. It's the Manhattan. I think that shortening of distance helps a couple horses who I'm putting in here. I've got the 5 horse. That's Program Trading. This horse has had six starts in his life, 5 wins and a second, so he knows where the winner circle is. He had been running with his 3-year-old counterparts all last year. Followed that up with a nice win his last time out, which was at Churchill Downs in the Turf Classic. Took on his elders, ended up winning there at 4-1 with Flavien Prat. Prat takes the call again. Certainly no reason to discount Chad Brown and Klarovich Stables. They do a lot of winning at Saratoga. So this horse is 5-2 for good reason. Got him in there. And I'm also going to put the 7, who is Nation's Pride. Nation's Pride, also Godolphin horse out of Charles Appleby stable. So I've got a lot of Godolphin horses here today and Charlie Appleby horses. This horse has done some globe trotting himself. He's won all over the world. Last time he ran, he had come off a bit of a layoff, a few months. Ended up running in the Grade 2 Manowar over at Aqueduct. That was 1 3/8 miles. When I watched that race, he was a favorite that day. Ended up getting beat by Silver Knot. He came third. Got beat by Ohana House, too, is also in this race. But looked to me like this horse needed the race. He ran a good race. He was 4-5 that day. His stablemate, who was a higher price, beat him. We see that happen a lot around the country. And, it just makes me think that maybe the 1 3/16 might be a lot better here. Frankie Dettori's on the horse. Never a bad thing. Definitely could see Frankie Dettori getting it done on the turf, here on Belmont Day at Saratoga. This horse is 9-2. So we've got the 5 and the 7. All right, now let's move to the big one. This is the main event. This is the one that everyone's been waiting for. This is the Belmont. Now this year, because the Belmont's over at Saratoga, it's run at 1.25 miles from its normal traditional 1.5 miles race. So big difference, and the races are run differently at 1.25 miles than they would be at 1.5 miles. So certainly some familiar faces we see in this race. I'll go through the lineup of horses. The 1 is Seize de Grey. As I mentioned, Seize de Grey, he won the Pate Mile. Followed that up with a nice win in the Preakness. I think, this horse will be a pace factor here. I don't have him today, but, certainly a nice horse, Seize de Grey. The 2 horse, who is Resilience. Resilience comes out of the Belmont barn. I like this horse in the Derby. I remember putting him in under my exactas and trifectas. This horse, I thought, ran a nice race in the Derby. He was hung out wide pretty much the whole race. He had the 18 post. He never really got to move in. And I thought the horse ran a strong race. He was right near the leaders into the stretch, and then just kind of folded it up. Maybe it was a little too much for him. So I think a little bit of time off, back to 1.25 miles, might do this horse pretty well here at Saratoga. So I do have the 2 on my ticket. That's Resilience for Belmont and Junior Alvarado. The 3 horses, Mystic Dan. Mystic Dan, we know, that's the Derby winner. Got that beautiful ride, just a, epic Hall of Fame type of ride from Brian Hernandez to win that race. Got up. Followed it up with a second place finish in the Preakness, so that was nice. I don't have Mystic Dan here today, so, just trying to move along here with my pick 5 here. So I got the 4 horse pick I don't have. That's Wine Steward. This horse comes out of a second place in the Peter Pan. Got beat by Antiquarian, who's the 5 horse. Don't have either of those 2 horses. Dornock is the 6. Now we saw Dornock running in the Derby Trail, the Triple Crown Trail this spring. He ended up running a decent race in the Derby. He had the unlikely spot unlikely spot, not a good spot for a horse to come out of the rail in the Kentucky Derby. Ended up getting shuffled back, had to do a lot of work, split the field, came 10th, so not a bad run for Dornock. We know he could run. His older brother is Mage, who won the Derby last year, so Dornock's the younger brother. He could run, but I don't have him today. The 7 is Protective, don't have anything there with Protective. The 8 horse, Anna Marie, didn't like Anna Marie in the Derby, don't like him here in the Belmont. The 9 horse, Sierra Leone, that was my pick in the Derby. I thought Sierra Leone is something special. I still do. I thought he ran a really, really good race in the Derby, overcame a lot, closed a heck of a lot of ground, caused his own problems, by leaning all over Forever Young. Ended up costing Sierra Leone the race, and it also cost Forever Young the race. People who have Forever Young can't be too happy. They might have won, but this horse has a lot of ability. He just likes to lean into his left. So, they made a jock switch here. They put Flavien Prat on the horse today, which Prat on a horse is always a good thing. First time on a horse. Nothing against Tyler Gaffleone. I think he did a fine job. The horse just likes to lean on his left. So we'll see what Prat could do. This horse is 9-5. If he could figure that straight course in the stretch, he's going to be very, very tough. So I've got him in my pick 5 ticket. Then to round out the field, there's Mindframe. That's the 10 horse. This horse is a lightly raced horse. He's 2 for 2 in his life, coming out of the Todd Pletcher barn. Irad Ortiz, king of Saratoga, he's riding him. This horse is going to get a lot of attention and some action as well, because he's run some good races and some big speed figures. I don't have him today. I just think maybe the waters might be a little deep for him, and I don't have him here, in this race. So I've got the 2 and the 9 here in the Belmont race. So let's recap the pick 5. In the 8th race, to start off this pick 5, we've got the 1, the 4, the 7, and the 9, with the 6, 8, and the 12. That's in the Jaipur. With the 2, 3, and the 6, that's in the Met Mile. With the 5, 7, that's in the Manhattan. With the 2 and the 9 in the Belmont Stakes. So that ticket is a $72 ticket. That's what I'm going to play today. As always, play as you see fit. If you want to add or subtract, play pick 3s within that, or play pick 4 within it. Do what makes you feel better. Or if you're going to make win bets, this is a guide for you. This is what I like here today and what I'm going to end up playing. So as always, I'm going to wish you the best of luck here. Let's get some good trips for all of our horses, because good trips result in good luck, and it results in good racing. Let's have some safe racing as well. As always, I'm asking you to please do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Make your comments, like, dislike. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you might like. Just create some discussion at the bottom of the video here. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back with Santa Anita.